What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I want to talk to you about the fight I witnessed last night. I know I gave you my recap last night, maybe an hour from the fight, after the fight had happened. But I want to give you, what I feel about about this fight. This was a very important fight for the heavyweight division. It's a wild card. It's an elimination. Ortiz is out, but we learned a lot about Ortiz. We learned a lot about Wilder. Um, but we also learn or keep learning that boxing is full of shit when it comes to box with officials. The unofficial scorecards from the boxing analysts. That's what they get paid for, right? They are just as close as the judges are. So they can make an account in a prediction on based on different attributes and reasons why they score fights by round. Okay. So, they had Ortiz up 77-74. You know what I'm saying? They had him winning 2 or 3 rounds. Easy. And I can understand why. And I could see the fight. And I was at a bar. Okay. So I don't really understand why the official scorecards had this fight. Wilder at the time of the stoppage, Wilder was winning 1 round. I'm like, where did you get that from? You could give him 3 rounds maybe out of 10. You know what I mean? And in both of those rounds, obviously, just because the 5th round and the 10th round. You know what I'm saying? So unless they scored the 10th round and marked that down, but that wasn't the case because they had him scoring. They didn't even score the 10th round yet because it wasn't over. So it was from 9 rounds back. So you had to score 9 rounds, and they had Deonte Wilder winning. I have a problem with that. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have a problem with that, because if it would have went 12 rounds, this would have showed you it was only the 10th, the 11th, the 12th. The 10th, the 10th, the 11th, and 12th left. So the way they had it, while Ortiz had to rally and do something spectacular anyway to win the fight because the way they were scoring it. You know what I'm saying? Wilder only won 2 or 3 rounds. I know he won 2 rounds for sure, definitely in my book. But you know what I'm saying? According to them, he won 5. He won 5 rounds to 4. So that it was like, okay, well, where did you get the other 3 from? So anyway, now that I got that out, I wanted to discuss that and talk about that. Let's talk about a possible fight with Joshua and Wilder because now that's what you have. Well, Joshua has to get past Parker. But Parker is a strong guy. So, everyone looked over a lot of fighters back in the day. They looked over Vince Phillips with Costa Zoo. They looked over Terry Norris with Keith Mullins. You know what I mean? Looking straight over Keith Mullins, looking forward towards the fight. So, you have to be careful. In boxing is so spectacular. That's why I love boxing. Especially with heavyweights. Heavyweights, one punch can change everything. That one punch changed the whole dynamics of the fight last night. The one that Ortiz landed. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I would disagree with Wilder because he's a semi-humble guy. Okay, let's just call it what it is. What he'll do, he gave respect to Ortiz. They of course they want to hype the fight up and stuff like that. There was some animosity from these two guys. But after the fight was over, the smoke cleared. Hey, hugs and kisses at the end of the day, X and O's, right? But Wilder did, make some comments that made you scratch your head, like bullshit. He said that, Ortiz can't punch. I've been telling Ortiz had no power, dude. Instead of award himself with an attribute of saying I have a good chin, he says Ortiz has no power. Everyone knows that's bullshit. You can't fight the guys that he's fought and have no power. You know what I mean? You can't knock out Jennings like that. And then really Ortiz didn't hit him the way he wanted to hit him. You know what I mean? It took him a while to, kind of muster up and get himself fired up to that tenacity to come in to land those punches. And it took a lot. It took that knockdown from the 5th for even Ortiz to get inside because that's when Ortiz Ironically, that being a Cuban fighter, because Cuban fighters are normally not inside fighters. There's only two, like I've said in my earlier videos, there's only two Cuban fighters that in my book that are inside fighters or that have the capability to fight inside effectively, and that's Francis Bartholomew and Luis Ortiz. Because these guys are a little different, I mean, I think that they acclimated well to the professional ranks instead of the amateurs. A lot of the guys still fight like, amateur fighters or whatever, or they fight for points. Let's put it that way. But anyhow, Ortiz had to go through that just to get in the inside. So he weathered that storm. The only problem was, once getting inside with Wilder, you have to fight yourself back into that position to get those punches off. And he didn't do that again, which he almost didn't need to, because he hit him with, like I said, a 10, 11, 12 unanswered punches, and he just really battered Deonte Wilder. And Deonte Wilder showed that he had a good chin, not because Luis didn't have any fucking power. Okay, so if he's going to say that, that's not true. That's just totally false. But he did not have to take that fight. He could have fought anyone, but he took that fight. And it's really a message to AJ, because AJ, ducked Ortiz. Ortiz was the mandatory for AJ. Hearn, Eddie Hearn is a slick guy, like most promoters are. They do things, they understand this is chess, it's not checkers, and the way they play it well. They play it based on reality, and the reality was, if Deontay Wilder would have went in there and fought AJ, Deontay Wilder more than likely would have beat AJ. You know what I'm saying? So, it was the two young guys against the two older guys. And the two older guys needs to step down because they've been beaten, but they haven't been beaten. Klitschko and Ortiz has not been beaten like shamelessly or without merit. They went out on their shield. They went out honorable. That's how an old fighter or a aging fighter or a seasoned fighter is supposed to be put down. And I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? Now, Ortiz can still fight. Klitschko stepped down because he's like, okay, that's being wise. Don't get back in there, because he could have rematched Joshua, but why? You did a great account of yourself in the 11th round, and it ended on the 10th round last night with Ortiz and Wilder. Just the will overcame the skill. Youth overcame the elderly. You know what I'm saying? Because let's keep it real. We don't know how old Ortiz is, but it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? We say it didn't really matter. We could say that because he did get a good account of himself despite his age. Okay, because that was a six or six plus age difference. Okay, with Ortiz. So, but he still, gave King Kong a true introduction and a true presentation of who he is. And you just got to take your hat off to Ortiz. And and then I hope now that AJ can give him that. I don't know if he's still the mandatory or whatnot, but, I would think AJ would want to give him a shot, which I doubt that'll happen because AJ is just waiting it out. Eddie Hearn is doing the same thing Oscar De La Hoya did. Okay. Eddie Hearn's waiting for Deontay Wilder to get older, or to seem to miss a step, because right now at 32, he's in his prime. He can beat probably anyone with his physical attributes and that power and that speed, all the physical attributes. He'll beat you with that. He has a chin, so it's kind of like he ain't like a person that, boom, you catch him right, he's down. No. You know what I mean? If that would have happened already, that would have happened last night. So, no. They're waiting that out, just like De La Hoya waited Triple G out for him to get 35 years old, and now let's make a fight with him. You know what I'm saying? That fight should have been done. It should have been made. It should have been made. They should have fought in 2016, but they wanted to wait to Golovkin to get older. Now they're making these fights happen. That's exactly what's going to happen with AJ and Wilder. That fight's going to happen late night 2019. That's my prediction on it. And if it happens before that, that just means Anthony Joshua has a lot bigger balls than everyone gives him credit for right now. Okay, because that means he cares about what the public has to say about or how they criticize him. Because people are going to criticize him now. Because Deonte Wilder took on the guy that he should have taken on. And if he would have taken, and I can understand why, because Eddie Hearns was like, hell no, you're not going to fight Ortiz. That's why I signed him. That's why I signed Ortiz. So you shouldn't, so you don't have to fight him, right? And, to keep him away from AJ. Because at Ortiz, at the time he signed it was last year, when you're old and you have that skill like that, it's a certain amount of time you have before you're not that fresh of a fighter. The time is ticking, and they knew it. Ortiz has a time limit. He's going to I hope he makes all the money and takes care of his family, get rich, get a couple good fights, make a couple $1,000,000, you know what I mean? Make some good investments. That'd be great for him. You know what I mean? I would love to see him the first Cuban champ, El Cubano champion, but it didn't happen last night, but it damn near, so it had me up in my seat. He lost my voice. So I was happy about it. He made a good account of himself again. But you guys tell me what you think about the scorecards. You guys tell me what you think about Joshua. And until then, you guys been Counterpunch. Please subscribe.